Welcome to Strategic Transformations with Nikki. I'm your host, Nikki Cates, and I am thrilled to have you join us on this empowering journey. This is the podcast where we dive deep into the art of strategizing, transforming, and empowering women both in life and at work. Each episode will explore the powerful intersection of transformational coaching, life strategies, professional development, and personal growth. Whether you're a leader, an inspiring entrepreneur, or someone striving for more in your personal life, this podcast is your go-to resource for actionable insights and inspiring stories. So get ready to unleash your potential, overcome challenges, and create the life and career you've always dreamed of. Let's strategize, transform, and empower together. Let's get started. Welcome back to Strategic Transformations with Nikki. We are here to dive deep into the heart of personal growth and strategic living. As we've been doing that, we have been talking about the KLB Strategy, which is the basic framework of everything that I do as a coach, as a trainer, as a content creator, as a change agent in the lives of women like myself. So the full intention of this strategy is to equip us, skill us, enlighten us, and let us be fully aware how to implement and align in our lives so that we can live with purpose and authenticity. For that is the game changer in both leadership and life. So today we're going to be talking about be. Be as in the action verb, be as in who you are, not what you do. I bring this up all the time because it is super relevant for women. A lot of times if we don't know who we are at our core, who we are is what we do. I was actually listening to a Blink on Blinkist recently. You might hear my pages turning as I'm looking for my notes. You are your best thing. This book actually was quite refreshing to me to come across it. If you're familiar with it or not, you might be familiar with Tarana Burke, who is the one who started the Me Too movement, and Brene Brown. And they said something that really jumped out at me that is pertinent to what we're talking about right now. This is specific to Black women. However, I think perhaps minority women as a whole, unfortunately, because we are told, especially in America, that we have to be so many times better than our Caucasian counterparts. Whether you are Black, Hispanic, or Asian, you tend to have to live up to that. Give me a word, y'all. The word assimilation is coming to mind, but that's not what I'm looking for. There is a form of assimilation and conformity that is expected of minorities in America. But you have to live up to that standard. I'm going to say standard. So the quote is, Black women are taught labor is more important than their well-being. And that is so true. We were talking about this in previous episodes. It's like we are taught that we are what we do. And that is the identity of who we are in this world, how we serve, how we conform, how we show up. Do we do the extra? Do we do the excess that's required of us just to even be substandard and average? Seriously, think about it. It's true. But the beauty of knowing who you be, and I want to thank Dr. Nicole Roberts-Jones because I was in her one of her coaching programs a couple of years ago, and she kind of started helping me on this process of understanding the process of us being, just sitting in our being. That's what she says a lot. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about being ourselves, and I'm going to get pretty personal in this episode, specifically because I want to let you all understand the power of embracing who you are in this world. Obviously, the first major part of this being aspect is that we understand who God is, our creator, and who he be to us and to creation. Obviously, if we're made in his image and after his likeness, that means that seeing who he is gives us some insight into who we were initially created to be and how we were created to show up in this world. His characteristics and the characteristics that are showcased through Jesus Christ, the Son of God, live in us. Okay. So he is compassionate. He is powerful. He is wise beyond measure and insightful. He is resilient. He is forgiving. All of these attributes of God also are to be expected to be showcased in humanity. And when we don't showcase those things, we are not being like our Lord. And the key, according to our Bible, is for us to aspire to be more like our Father. So just that moment of spiritual understanding and clarity for you and how it relates to all of this. We were created by a creator. And if that be the case and you believe that, then you understand that we have not been fully optimizing the creation. Who are you? Do you even understand what that creation is when you look at her in the mirror? I have so much more understanding today than I've ever had in my whole life at 45 years old. And it's enough to make me just jump out of bed and be excited about going about the day at this point. With the strengths and the weaknesses and the flaws and the idiosyncrasies and the nuances and the beauty, the things that need to be worked on, the things that have changed, the things that have grown. I'm just grateful all around and excited to see how Nikki will tap more into who she is every single day. And I wish that for you as well, that we would begin to see revealing ourselves to the world on a daily basis, layer by layer. What was that movie where he kept describing, Sandra Bullock, what's it called? Blindside, I think. You remember Tim McGraw's character, her husband, kept describing her as an onion. You have to peel her back layer by layer. Yeah, we have to peel back the layers of who we've been told that we are by our families, our environments, society, our experiences, our circumstances, our relationships, positions we've held, things we've had to adapt in order to survive in this world. Who are you at the core of all of that? It's that core that matters. Before we jump in, I want to share a powerful quote from one of our favorite aunties, Oprah Winfrey. Authenticity means erasing the gap between what you firmly believe inside and what you reveal to the outside world. That is the premise of our episode today. Thinking about it, authenticity, it's a term that we hear so often that it risks becoming just another buzzword, much like work-life balance, which you will continue to hear from me, that I honestly don't believe that there is a balance. Balance would speak to a place of arrival or perfection, and those are not human attributes. We will never reach perfect balance. However, we can integrate, we can harmonize, we can blend. Whatever word you decide to use, balance is not very accurate. Okay. I'm just saying, this is not just from reading or consuming content and information. This is experience. You will drive yourself plumb crazy trying to create a perfect balance, because there will always be aspects of your life that will be out of sync. Something may be more important in a particular season or moment, okay, or phase, Think about it. Okay, so yes, another buzzword. Look at me getting on a tangent. But what does it really mean to be authentic? Does it just mean to be true to yourself? Perhaps. I want you to consider, is it possible to be true to yourself in a world full of fakes and phonies? I think the answer is yes. But to me, authenticity is about congruency. I say this word often because Cindy Trim, in her 40-day soul fast, during a very heavy difficult, challenging, dark time in my own life during the pandemic. I was recovering from probably the lowest I had hit in depression, maybe not the lowest, but pretty low. And I remember reading the 40-day soul fast, and I went through it the way that you should, day by day, making sure that I participated in the exercises and everything, and read the scriptures and tried to apply and implement as much as possible. But what stood out to me the most out of that whole book, that whole process or journey, was congruency. Just like Auntie Oprah said, it's about closing the gap between who you are at your deepest, most genuine level and who the world sees every day. It's not as simple as it sounds, because our society often conditions us to accept appearances at face value. Think about it. Social media, news outlets, people every day on the street, at our workplaces. We're supposed to see our bosses and those in leadership as perfect individuals, even though they are humans, just like the rest of us behind the scenes. Are they being authentic? Most of the time, not, because so many of us as human beings are more concerned with what others see as opposed to what we know behind the scenes. Ouch. But true. I know I lived behind a mask for a very long time, or in a shell. I don't know. I think the shell is more befitting. But no, seriously, I was a chameleon for many years in my earlier years, probably most of my 20s. Yeah, all of my 20s and possibly a portion of my 30s. I was a chameleon, just changing my colors and shielding my true personality depending on who I was around. And that came from a place of fear of rejection based off what I had experienced in my childhood, what was going on in my head, the condition of my soul after all of that, not processing it, not being able, given the outlets to release it, to get closure, to find healing from it. This is why I'm an advocate for my daughters being in therapy early in life, so they don't carry that stuff. All that baggage, just keep on piling it on and carrying it. And I encourage that for you as well. What is it that you're carrying that's sitting in the gap, filling up that gap that needs to be closed between who you are and who you actually should be in this world? I want to share with you all a lesson that I learned recently pertaining to this topic. I started with a new therapist. You may be familiar with my story. I am a depressive. I have lived with depression and anxiety for my whole life. I can even remember back in my teen years. But coming up in the Black community, you all know this, we didn't talk about this. Apparently, it's like this also in the Hispanic community. I've talked to some of my Latina sisters, and they're telling me that it's the same thing. It's like we deal with our stuff. We don't put that off on anybody else. We don't bring anyone into our business. What happens is house stays in this house. And you're not encouraged to go to therapy and to talk about your issues. God forbid I'm talking about it on the internet where everyone can hear it. Get your butt on that altar and you pray until you feel better or change your thoughts. I remember my mom said that to me recently after the VA awarded me with VA disability for severe to moderate depression and anxiety. She said, well, I've felt depressed before over the years. I just, didn't let myself stay there. I just did what I had to do to think happy thoughts and make myself feel better. I'm paraphrasing, y'all. And I love my mommy. Okay. Love you, mommy. We have a beautiful relationship now. Now, granted, over the years, it's been pretty rocky and tumultuous, mostly because of this. I didn't understand who I was and why I was the way I was, and she didn't either. And so it created a gap between us that needed to be filled of understanding. Even when I was approved with the VA disability, she could not fathom that I would receive disability for that. But guess what, y'all? There is a thing called invisible disabilities. But we'll talk about that on another episode because that is a part of the marginalized community. And we need to have that conversation. Not all disabilities are visible. Some of them are invisible. That's why you have to be kind to people and understanding. because you don't know what's going on beneath the surface. I was judged for a lot of things that people did not understand. And I internalized that because I didn't know who I was. And so back to what I was working towards, my new therapist, I was talking to her, and what I realized in this session, y'all, was that I still had this mindset of hope, I would say, that I would eventually come off of antidepressants and eventually would no longer have the mental and emotional struggles that I have on a regular basis. And she helped me to understand, almost like a coach through questioning, that this is a part of who I am. This doesn't just go away. This is not, oh, I feel sad because of these circumstances. Let me change the way I'm feeling. No, I'm going to be very clear with y'all. Real quick, another soapbox. Depression is not just circumstantial. Many of us, I would say, are blessed with the ability to change our thoughts, manage our lives, our thoughts, our emotions, our relationships better in order to come out of depression. However, you do have some of us, like myself, that have an imbalance in some way, chemical, hormonal, whatever that may be. I am not a psychologist, y'all. But we actually live with the condition that we cannot just make a sound decision to change. When I tell y'all with my last therapist, she really gave me the green light to accept this. Like, I was doing everything I could, y'all, to change everything I could. Like my diet, I was making sure I was getting in stress management, exercise, like maintaining the peace around me, like setting boundaries and priority, like all the things that I talk about for life and self-management. I applied all of these things in my personal life in hopes that I would no longer deal with depression and anxiety like I was. And it just didn't help. It wasn't helping. And one day she said, you know what? I think it's time for you to consider medication, because you're doing all of the right things to manage your emotions, your thoughts, your condition, and it's not effective enough. And I went on medication. That was over a year ago, and I've been able to thrive in starting my own business, sticking in there. Listen, y'all, entrepreneurship is not for the faint at heart. It is very difficult. Maybe you have the funds and it's not that difficult from that perspective, but it is difficult mentally, right? Because you're putting your heart and your soul out there, and you're putting your ideas and your thoughts out there. You're putting your face out there, your voice out there, your concepts of how you want the world to see you, and crickets. It is very difficult. I am able to see content creators in a whole new light after this past year of really sticking in there. But I would have never been able to hang in there like this if I was not on antidepressants, and if I was not on maintaining myself and being a better steward of the person that God gave me to be in this world, managing her and everything around her in a better way so that she can function optimally. These are things that we have to do, y'all, in order to truly show up as our best selves. All of us say we want to be our best selves, but we want to go and have fun and get drunk and be hungover and don't watch what we eat. And like, we do all of these things chaotically without intention, but we want to be our best selves and we want to show up in life with better lives. All of this has to be done, my friends. Okay. Anyway, back to my new therapist. What I had to understand and embrace, just like with my weight, genetically speaking, I am genetically optimized to carry this mom belly. And for a long time, I hated myself for that. However, here at 45 years old, almost 46 in 2024, I have embraced the fact that this beautiful mom belly and my issues or my fluctuations with my weight are just a part of who I am. Bucking against it and being angry about it does nothing but breed self-hate, which is unuseful. And it just causes turmoil in my thoughts. It disturbs my peace and it throws me off my game. So coming to a place, either you can change it or you cannot. And that's one thing about weight. Weight can be changed, y'all. You can gain, you can lose. Granted, my belly, that's a whole nother story. Either I'm going to have to learn how to live with it or have it removed, which I'm going to be perfectly 100 with y'all. I'm having it removed because my kids are grown. I'm ready to leave that behind me. I've been carrying this mom belly since I was 17 years old. So yeah, that's my journey though. What's yours? The point is I've accepted and embraced that this is a part of who I am. Okay. This is a part of, and she said something very profound to remind me. It was a reminder, I know. This is who you are. It's a part of who you are, but it's not your identity. I had to pause for a moment on that one. I want y'all to receive that. It's not my identity. It doesn't identify who I am. It's not a label to attach to me like mom, wife. It's not a label, y'all. But it is a part of my experience on this earth. It is a part of my charge to steward and to manage. That's what self-leadership is. You can't manage something that you have zero assessment about what exists in it. You can't go into a restaurant and manage that restaurant like a boss and not understand the intricate details of your staff members, your inventory, your target market. Listen, there has to be some effort put forth in order to show up authentic. Okay. All right. I'm off of that soapbox now. I hope that blessed somebody because look, I want to be as authentic and transparent as possible. We're going to talk about that in a minute because guess what? Authenticity is not necessarily transparency. But before that, in coaching, we use a model called the iceberg theory. And if you would just for a moment, whatever you're doing, just stop and just picture an iceberg, whatever that looks like in your head. Picture Alaska, a documentary or a picture you've seen, and you see this huge hunk of ice jutting up out of the water, right? You see it? But guess what? Only a small part is visible above the water. Believe it or not, the vast majority of that block of ice lies hidden beneath the surface of the water. It goes deeply down into the water, way further than it juts up out of the water. This is how we often present ourselves to the world. And the intention of the iceberg theory as a coach is to understand that the average person only operates from surface level up. But the truth lies in the depths, and we tend to keep that hidden from everyone else. But true transformation is when you're able to dive beneath that surface, first on your own, and then potentially being vulnerable enough to allow others access as well. So I want you to think about that. I want you to consider that. I'll give you another example. My husband is a beautiful Jamaican man, core to core, all the way through Jamaican, y'all. He loves mangos. And think about this big, beautiful, old mango tree. You see the trunk, you see the branches, you see the leaves, occasionally those mangoes that fall or are picked to make my Jamaican husband very, very happy and fulfilled. But there are roots that go beneath the surface of the earth to sustain that tree. And if it were not for those roots, there would not be delicious mangoes for him to consume. Those roots are necessary and they require nourishment, and we don't see that, but it's there. That's what we're talking about, y'all. Every person that you see walking around you, every person that you look at, every person you talk to, every person you interact with, and that person that you look at in the mirror, all have roots that stem deep below the surface, or a grand hunk of ice that protrudes down into the depths of the water, the ocean, the sea. Remember that when you're dealing with people. Let's make it practical. Why is that cashier got such an attitude with you right now? Granted, it's unprofessional, but you don't know what's going on with her. For me, for instance, I remember working as a manager in the restaurant industry, and I remember one time one of my coworkers called me a moody bitch. Excuse my language. And it hurt my feelings a little bit, but I understood why she said it because at that time, my depression and anxiety was completely unchecked and undiagnosed. I had been living that way for over a decade. I had no idea that that's what I was dealing with. But you just don't know, y'all. You don't know the capacity of someone. You don't know what that is that lies beneath the surface, good or bad. That's why we need to be understanding. All right, so let's talk about authenticity versus transparency, because I think this is really good. When I was thinking about this, I was like, wow, I never really thought about it like that until now. I boast myself on being transparent, but transparency is not authenticity. So let's talk about the difference. They are not interchangeable. Some people use them interchangeably, but they are not. Transparency is about sharing information, okay? Being open and accessible with information. But it's not the same thing as being authentic. Authenticity requires vulnerability and self-awareness. It's about aligning your actions with your true values and beliefs. We can have a conversation for days about data on life. What happened, what's happening, what we want to happen, what we wish would happen, what we hope and fear not to happen. That can be transparency. However, authenticity means that you're speaking from a place of not just who you think you are, but who you know you are. For example, someone who is transparent may share a lot of information, but hasn't necessarily explored their true self, which is on average. Authenticity demands a deeper dive. It's about knowing your true north, as Bill George describes in his book, and living in alignment with it. So why? Real quick, why do we need to be authentic in leadership in life? Well, because it's crucial. But why is it crucial? John Maxwell puts it this way: a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. And before you stop and say, you know what, Nikki, I'm not a leader. You are a leader, sis, in some way, if only to lead yourself as a self-leader. You are required on this earth to be a leader. If you're a mother, girl, you are a leader. If you are in a marriage, you are a co-leader and an influencer, okay? Come on now. We can make or break our men just like they can do for us, all right? Remember, you are a leader, sis. So a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Authenticity allows us to show up with clarity, confidence, wisdom, faith, integrity, purpose, and intention. It builds trust and fosters loyalty. It can enhance culture and performance in life and work, and it can improve your relationships. So whether you're leading a team at work or your family at home, how you show up truly matters. Trust. How I show up in the world now has made my marriage better. Not perfect, but better by mounds, leaps and bounds. My children are better. My daughters are better because I'm better. My family, my siblings, my mother are better because I am better. It matters, y'all. When you align with your true self, you inspire others to do the same. You tap into that unique light that is your own. Others see your confidence and clarity, and then they begin to want that for themselves. You can't just tell someone, y'all. We got to stop doing all of this lip service and actually have action, y'all. Okay? We can't tell our kids, do as I say and not as I do. It doesn't work. My mom said that for years. That was what was said back in the day. Y'all know we used to repeat what the old black, our ancestors, old black folks used to say. We just repeat it all over again in a new generation. Look, walk the walk too, okay? Trust me, everyone will be better because of it. So, but let's keep it real here. It is easier said than done. So let's discuss real quick some challenges to being authentic in this world. Fear. Oh man, that sucker right there. Fear of judgment, failure, rejection, ridicule. Listen, that list could go on and on about what we're afraid of. Societal and cultural expectations, which is, I think, also stems from fear. It's easier to go with the flow than to go against it. We don't want to experience repercussions. Internalized beliefs and insecurities, our past experiences and perceptions can suppress our true selves because we want to fit in. We want to be accepted. We want to be seen and heard. Risks. Living authentically can come with personal and professional risks sometimes. Sometimes, many times. From losing a job to facing backlash to losing relationships. Again, the list could go on. There is always going to be a risk to do the right thing, especially when you're doing it from an authentic place. However, these challenges can be overcome when you are armed with your values, your beliefs, your faith, and your self-worth. When you have a healthy and authentic self, nothing can replace you. Jobs and relationships can come and go. They can be replaced. But when you are aligned with who you are, your God, your purpose, your reason for living and working in this earth, no one can take that away from you. And that is way more important than the things that are temporary. Okay? Practical steps to cultivate authenticity. You may be wondering, how do I do this if you're not familiar? Self-awareness. Y'all know I talk about this all the time. I was just talking to a group of coaches. Of course, for us, self-awareness is the number one thing. Self-awareness and reflection. Setting aside time for self-reflection, whether that's in journaling, meditation, mindfulness practices, prayer, whatever it is that you need to do to sit down and tap into just being. All right. Defining your core values. If you followed me for any amount of time, you know I am an advocate for core values because you can build your life off of them. Identify them and articulate why they matter to you. Listen, I will just throw this out here real quick, but check out my 14 Days to Self-Discovery coaching workbook that will help you out with those core values and that self-awareness. Setting boundaries, establishing and communicating boundaries that protect your time, energy, and values. You got to protect yourself, y'all. Because if you don't, any and everything that's always changing and evolving will throw you off your course and knock you off of your core balance. Who you are at your core has to be what keeps you grounded. Okay, those roots. All right. You can't just go and move an iceberg. Again, because it looks one size at the top of the surface, but look underneath. Remember that. All right. Practice vulnerability. Start by sharing your true thoughts and feelings in safe environments. Obviously, therapy, coaching, that always helps. Mentors that you can trust to have these conversations with. Spiritual authorities that you trust and have these conversations with. Practice vulnerability. It's amazing to me that some people truly struggle with this because I am okay with it. I like to be transparent, but that's my personality. That's my makeup. Others are not. I remember meeting a young lady in Toastmasters, and she was saying that her issue was not in speaking in large audiences like mine. Hers is the opposite. It's in intimate settings, one-on-ones and small groups where she has to be a bit vulnerable. I think that's quite interesting, don't you? We are all different. That's why we cannot judge each other, okay? Embrace imperfection, accept that no one is perfect, and acknowledge your flaws and weaknesses. Y'all, that alone is a game changer by itself. Align actions with words. Ensure your actions reflect your spoken values and beliefs. This takes time. No one's going to get it right, especially not at first. When you're first tapping into your authenticity and aligning yourself and your life with that blueprint of who you are, it takes time. But the key here is to just be intentional about aligning, okay? Just be intentional. Develop emotional intelligence, understanding and managing your emotions and empathizing with others. We are emotional beings. I know men like to say women are emotional beings, but guess what, y'all? Y'all emotional too. Humans are emotional beings. So, what better way to thrive in a world filled with emotional beings than to be aware of emotions? All right. Create supportive environments by surrounding yourself with people who encourage your true self. Oh my gosh. I feel like crying right now, thinking about the beauty and the gratitude that I experience on a daily basis by being surrounded by people that let me just be me and love me for it. There was a day that was not true because, one, I was a chameleon. I didn't know who that authentic woman was or is. And so I didn't have people around me that would allow that. Listen, y'all, who you put around you matters. And if you don't already have them around you, you can go and create that. Okay? In 2024, we live in a world where people will go and create, well, I would say in our society. I'm not quite sure where else in the world, but in the United States of America, if that's where you are right now, family has shifted to the family that we create for ourselves more so than the blood. Okay? Not that you should discard the blood connection, or as my girlfriend Angela says, the water of the womb, like from the Bible. But if you don't have that type of support and you don't have that type of growth environment that John Maxwell talks about in his book, 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, you need to find it. When you become an adult, it's your responsibility to surround yourself. Okay? If that's not through your blood or water of the womb, then go find it. Find your tribe. Find your village, because we all need it. One-woman villages don't get far, y'all. And you can't make much of a difference if you don't do the healing in yourself first. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Or do you want to put poison out there in the world for others to drink? Come on now. Think about it. Don't be selfish. That is selfish, to think that you want others to come to you, but you don't want to do the work on yourself. Listen, if you come across a therapist or a coach who doesn't want to be in therapy or be coached, I would say that's a red flag. Not that they have to be consistently. Maybe they've worked through their stuff already by the time you interact with them. But being humble enough to realize that you are a human. I just seen an ad pop up on something. I feel like it was for BetterHelp. And the therapist said, I am a therapist and I have a therapist. And it is because I am also a human. There you go. I have no worries about admitting that I have a therapist and I need to be coached. Okay. I need mentors to guide me. I need my pastor to call me sometimes and tell me I'm doing the right thing and pray with me. I need those things. I need my friends to remind me of how far I've come, because y'all do that for me. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Instead of highlighting where I haven't gotten yet. Okay. You need those type of people around you. Lead by example by demonstrating authenticity in your leadership style. When you become authentic, you understand what your style of leadership is. I have always been a servant leader focused on the transformation of those around me. I just have grown in being better at that. Okay. Because before, out of a place of unhealing within myself, I was very critical. Okay. When you learn your personality, you understand, okay, this is how I could be without a healed heart. And I say that to my daughters all the time. Who that was before, that doesn't mean that's not who I am today. That just means that I have a healed heart and I flow from that space now instead of a space of brokenness, y'all. All right. So I think I gave y'all a whole lot today. Again, if you're interested in diving deeper into cultivating your authentic self, please download my 14 Days to Self-Discovery Coaching Workbook. You can access that at www.nikkicates.com. It is free and is a great starting point for honing self-awareness, defining your values, and embracing vulnerability. So today, I want you to remember, okay, to be. That's it. Be like God. Be like you. When you transform, everything else follows. Why? Because there's only one single common denominator on this earth in your life, work, and the world around you. And that denominator is you, sis. You are the common denominator. All right. So again, transform you and everything else will follow. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. It was a little bit longer, but I wanted to make sure that I bared my soul and how much this means to me about us being who we were created to be in this world, y'all. If you want to define misery, it's being locked into the expectations of others. and living a life based off of what they want for you as opposed to what God wants for you and what you want for yourself. Because guess what? As a coach, I can tell you, you hold the answers within. If you're looking for someone to help you tap into that, go to my website and schedule a meet and greet strategy call. Let's see how we can work together so I can give you that one-on-one partnership to help you tap into the answers that you hold for your life within your beautiful self. All right? All right. Don't forget to download the coaching workbook. Subscribe for more episodes on strategic living and personal growth. I thank you and have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Strategic Transformations with Nikki. I hope you found today's discussion both insightful and inspiring. Remember, transformation isn't just a destination, it's a journey, and every step you take brings you closer to the empowered life you envision. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other amazing women in your network. For more resources, strategies, and to stay connected with me, follow me on social media at I am Nikki Cates and visit my website at www.nikkicates.com. Don't forget to join our community of like-minded women who are dedicated to strategizing, transforming, and empowering each other every day. Until next time, keep strategizing, keep transforming, and keep empowering yourself and those around you. You have the power to create incredible change in your life and work. I'm Nikki signing off. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.